Hi Sagittarius, what's going on? We are here with your reading, what you need to know for February. So the way that I'm going to do this is that we are going to go week by week. I'm going to pull a different spread for each of the 4 weeks of February. And so yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to start with the first week. We'll see what's going on. And I'm saying week loosely, you know, I'm sure it's not going to be like week 1, only this is going to be happening within that. Like, I'm sure there can be like overlap, repeating themes or things that like flood into the next week or maybe stop short, you know. So just like keep that in mind, be flexible as far as the timing. It's a little bit more fluid. Okay, we're starting February, the first week of February off with Queen of Wands and 7 of Pentacles. I'm seeing a lot of focus and attention that's going into what you currently have going on. I feel too like this is putting a spotlight on you. It seems simultaneously like you're going through a cycle that's finishing up, so you can be at this point coming to terms. It can be something that's on your mind a lot. As far as what you're doing physically, it feels like something that you're putting a lot of your energy into currently while also dealing with something mentally that's going on. It feels like the conclusion of a cycle that's coming to rest. So yeah, I feel even like in the beginning of February, you have your hands full, but in a good way. It feels like you're busy. Okay, yeah. In a good way, again. I'd see you being on track as well. We have 9 of Cups there too, so you are at the point where I'm seeing there be a lot of effort and energy and consistency and focus deliberately being put into what you want to be investing in your dreams, your wishes, your goals, what you feel connected with, what you will feel happy with and satisfied with at the end of the day. That being said, I'm seeing the 8 of Cups here, so there can be something that as you're thinking about what's really most important for you to be investing in and where your heart lies and what your heart wants as far as what you're investing in, this may also indicate to you something that is now finished. So you can say, this is feeling like it's not the place for me to be placing my heart anymore. There are other things that I want to be putting that into, and that can really be where the focus is being channeled. And I'm seeing this can feel too like you're sort of at a crossroads, and it can be a decision of like, do I keep doing this or do I not? Do I keep entertaining this? Do I not? Do I keep putting my emotion into this or not? I'm seeing the Fool on the bottom of the deck, so I'd say definitely this can be a big new chapter for you that you're starting. A leap of faith can definitely be involved in this too. Feel kind of like shaking things off and freeing yourself. Okay, so this is the plan. The plan is that there's a movement that you're going to be making, and it feels too like you're going to be dropping something. Like something just feels it's not appropriate for me to be involved in this anymore. So I'm seeing there be a stand that you're taking here. There are steps now that you're going to be taking. There can be a part of you that feels like you're still coming to terms with this. Like, where does all of this go? And you can be learning about that, learning about how things get you caught up and have you making choices that maybe aren't the most ideal for you. Recognizing where fear can take a hold or where you can get stuck sometimes. And also too, this is a cycle of learning more and more what you want. Some of you by experiencing some things that you don't want. And making the decision not to continue investing. Yeah, I'm seeing you moving on from something here, finally. I get the sense that there is a lot of faith that is needed here, and there's a lot of hope that's needed here, and there's a lot of trust in yourself and in the universe, and I'm hearing divine protection. It feels like a time when you're doing this, and it may be something where you really have to follow your spirit into wherever it's leading you, because you can know like something that you've had going on is really not resonating with you. It's not resonating with where you are, and it would feel like, I'm hearing ironic, it would feel like keeping around something that's no longer an energetic match for you if you were decide to remain. And so in some area of your life, I'm seeing something that you are finished with. It feels like licking the plate clean, like something really is done, like there's no more like substance to gain from that. It's finished, and now you're going to be moving forward. I will say that you can feel like it's something that didn't fully manifest. You can feel like it's something that didn't fully totally come to fruition yet. At the same time, it feels like, okay, weird like metaphor here. If you get a Slurpee and there's like a lot of ice in the cup, there's the ice and then there's the flavoring within it. Let's say that you like are not really interested in the ice unless it has the flavoring, and you have a big Slurpee. It feels like you have finished all of the parts of the Slurpee that have the juice in it. And so all you're left with is the ice. So even though technically like the whole entire drink isn't finished, the part that you were meant to get from it is finished. And so even though there can be this piece of you that's looking at it and you're like, well, should I just like finish it because I didn't finish the ice? But then you're like, but I don't want to. I don't want that. That's not what I wanted from that. You gained like all the color that you could from that, all the substance that you could, for even though we're talking about Slurpees, let's say you gained all the substance that you could from that, like the juice that you were meant to get from that, the energy exchange that you were meant to get from that. Now it's about throwing that away and time to keep moving. So that's what I'm seeing be going on here. That this can be a plan that's being made if this hasn't been done already. Some of you, this is already in motion, something that's happening here. And this is going to be a time where you'll see that things really do end up connecting, that this is really the move to be making, and that you are honoring yourself and honoring what's right for you. There can be this piece of you that's stuck in a debate, but I'm not seeing this be something that's going to be lasting. I feel like it's going to be a little bit of a tug of war, because you're like, do I really leave the icy? Like there's still all of that, the slushy, there's still all of that ice in there. But then you're going to look at it and be like, but it's only ice that's left in there. And when that moment hits you, when that moment of realization hits you, you're going to be ready. Even if there can be a part of you that's like, what does all of this mean? Like, where am I on to next? It feels like you know what that is. And so you've recognized that. So I'm seeing this be the thing that's going on. You're going to be moving forward. Things are just going to get better from here. Okay. You are really trusting yourself in these movements that you're making. This is very like spirit-led notion that you are connected with. Even though you're in this situation, having this situation, experiencing this situation, I am seeing you be extremely connected throughout. And because you're on track, it feels like, even though this can be a difficult conclusion to come from, at the same time, you know what it is. And you know it's worth it to be honest with yourself too, regardless of the implications. Okay. First week of February. Let's get into the second week. You can initially, okay, when you get to that moment where all the juice is out of the Slurpee and you're looking at the ice, you can question, like, should I just finish it or should I not? There's going to be like a little bit of a debate there, and there can be some internal residue that you have to work out. But then you get to the point where you're like, I don't want the ice in it. I don't want to finish. I don't want to finish the drink. Like, you finish the drink in your version of what that was, but maybe standardly it's not finished. You know, like maybe other people believe you have to finish it all the way in order for it to really be finished. You can look at that and say what I wanted from that and what I was like craving from that and needing from that has already been absorbed, digested, consumed. And so I could keep going through the motions, but I'm not going to get any other nutrients from that. I'm not going to get any more energy from that. So it feels like whatever that is, it's not really contained within that anymore, and you're going to see that. You will have, I feel like you're going to have, something is going to make that very clear for you, okay? And I'm seeing a new chapter that you're starting. I don't think that it's going to feel easy. You can feel very attached to the Slurpee. Even though, like, technically it's not there anymore. What you're moving towards is something that's going to be sustainable. The Slurpee that doesn't have any more substance is not going to sustain you, okay? All right, second week of February. We're going to use a different deck. Second week of February, I'm seeing some silence. I'm seeing some quiet time. So this can be a time where you connect, get in touch. This can be a time where you spend time in nature, or you can be listening to Hertz, or you can be meditating, or you can be sleeping, you can be resting, you can be coloring, you can be whatever it is. It feels like it's really going to help you feel centered, mindful, present, like your charge is where you need it to be. And this also feels like it's going to clarify where your heart is, what you want, what's going on within there. I'd say that this is going to be like a crystallization, purification, as far as your conscious awareness of what's going on within your heart. What you want is going to be clarified through this process, and your mind will be quiet enough to really hear this. It will feel clear. And then you can know that's what you want to be focusing on, among the other things that you have going on. But yeah, I'm seeing that second week of February seem like it's like maybe more quiet. So there can be this balance between, okay, I'm getting quiet, I'm tuning into my heart, I'm tuning into my soul, I'm tuning into the way that I feel, I'm really getting in touch with what I want here. That is becoming more apparent to me. Meanwhile, it feels like also coming to terms with everything as well, because I'm seeing the Five of Cups here. So this is like anything that we need to reconcile with, anything that we need to come to terms with, anything that needs to be integrated, anything that we need to process emotionally, that is also being done as well in this time. So I'd say, I feel like especially like the first like 4 days of that second week, especially, it can be like really a time where you're more quiet. I feel like less from external things and more just like tuning in, and anything that helps you to be present, and anything that's like restful to you or helps you get tuned in and connected. There's going to be a lot of focus. This can be to a time where if there's any like noise or any distractions, you can be tuning them out a bit. And I feel like this is a type of quiet that you're going to crave, so you can know what's going on. This feels like a desire to tune in. And so everything does come into focus. Yeah. I am still seeing some stuff emotionally that's being held on to. You can just have a hard time letting go of some things, you know? And for those of you that this is about the slushy, there can be a part of you that's like, oh, I wish that there would have been more juice in it. I wish that it would have lasted longer. I wish that the like portions of ice and juice would have been different within it. You know, like moving through this stuff where you're slowly coming to a place of acceptance. And there can also be a focus on like, where is the opportunity? Where is the growth? Where is essentially the next slushy? Or maybe something a little bit different than that. Maybe something that you do feel like is more sustainable. Okay, I'm seeing a big ending that you're coming to terms with, Sag. No wonder you're taking time. I'm seeing this can be something where like you may not have wanted it to end, and at the same time you can feel like it just really had to. Like that is what the situation is. I feel too like something may be around, but it just may not be up to. I just feel like it doesn't meet the standard. I feel too like you saw potential and something didn't reach that as well. And that can be something as well where you're like, okay, opportunity was there. At the same time, it just feels kind of like a dud to me. Meaning, like, my interpretation of that would be something where it's like, you never know what could happen, but then it just, like, didn't quite. It's like somebody, like, going to dunk a basketball, and it's like they didn't even get, like, close enough to the rim for that thing to go in. But there was potential there for that to be happening, but it just didn't. And so this is going to be that whole coming to terms with this and being like, potentially, like, that could have been the thing that made it, you know, it could have been what I wanted, all of this, and then being like, well, this is what's going on, this is what's happening. And all around, like, going through this process. We also, too, we have Scorpio here. So this is going to be an energy where there's going to be possibly, like, some emotional turmoil. There's going to be a lot of reconciling with the way that you feel, a lot of processing. With Scorpio, this is fixed water. So this can be, like, it can feel really, really difficult to change lanes emotionally. It can be difficult to transition. It can feel difficult to process at times, but you can feel too like you're going to stay stuck otherwise. So this can be a time where it can feel like a really big emotional and mental transition for you. That's also why it's really important that you're not doing anything to exhaust yourself. So this can be, even though you're not physically running around and doing a lot of stuff, you can feel more tired than usual. It's because you're processing something really heavy energetically. So please give yourself that time to go through this process. This feels too like changing lanes with Nine of Cups can represent something that you want. Having the Death card can indicate that whatever that was focused on is shifting and going to turn to something else. So before it was the slushy, now the Nine of Cups is going to rematerialize as something else. It will still be the Nine of Cups, it's just going to be changing form. So that's also something that's going on too. And I think being present to everything that you're feeling, this is also going to be part of this as well. And making sure that there's a balance, because you're going to need to rest in order to have the energy that you need. So make sure that you're doing that too. And also this balance between where to be more still or where to be more still versus where to be more in flow with movement, and there being a balance between the two. So there's like some more movement, some more flexibility that's being incorporated. I feel even like you had been maybe solidified into a position that is now something about it. It reminds me of clay that has dried in a certain position that you've been in, but now it is being rehydrated, and so you're becoming bendable again. And this can also have to do with your routine, like what you've normally been spending time doing. Like what was sort of more like, I do this, this, and this, and I repeat that like every day. I do this and this and this, and then the next day I do this and this and this, and it's like the same thing. You just like go around and around again and again. Something about that is shifting. So this can mean like your routine is changing, like what's on your plate is changing. There's a shifting plate that's going on here. So that's also a process that's happening too. I think that about says it for that second week. We're going to get into the third week now. There can be a part of you that like doesn't really like what you're dealing with at the same time. It just feels like this is part of the process, but it can feel like a bit of a struggle. You know, there can be a part of you that really doesn't like the change of this. Just like just the change of it. There can be a part of you that has a difficult time with this. The fluctuation. But all of this is getting you ready for what's next. All right, so we are going to be covering now the third week of February. Okay, I'm seeing the Fool be coming out. As I said before, new journey is beginning. The sunshine is coming out. Also, too, given everything that I've seen in the 2 weeks leading up to this, whatever was going on, you can feel like you were going through a dark night of the soul. In that third week, having the Fool come out feels like you might start seeing the sun again. You know, it can be a time where you feel like a bit alleviated. Maybe it feels like a bit easier to breathe. You can feel a little bit more like, okay, new venture is beginning. I'm feeling more on board with this. So I'd say that there's a shift that happens in the third week that feels easier, where it can feel like before it could have felt like everything moved down and there was just like this one lane there. Now I feel like stuff opens up and there are lots of different ways that you can go, lots of different avenues, lots of different stuff to explore, and it feels just, again, like easier to breathe. It feels like that transition from being in something where maybe you liked the confinement of it in some way to then opening up. And you know, like if you're in a cage for a long time and you get used to being in that, it can feel a little like disturbing, I think, when you're taken out of that and just like put out in the open. So there can be this time of transition, but this feels like you being out in the open now and looking around and being like, oh, this actually feels good. Like I'm realizing that I was kind of stifled within that, but I just was used to it and I wasn't seeing that before. And so this feels like you're going to feel like so much more in spirit than you had been before. It's kind of like being caged or being like locked up before. So the feeling is going to be different. Feel just open. Like I just keep seeing a visual of somebody being like in the woods or something like that, where there's just an expanse to be exploring, where you're not smushed into a little space anymore. Like it's like everything opens up for you in that third week. And that feels good, because sometimes we're in that open space and it doesn't feel good. This is like things open up and it doesn't feel dreary. It doesn't feel bad. Things open up and it actually feels good, and you feel the sun on your face and you feel like you can breathe and the air feels really clean and fresh and it feels good being where you are, and there's that excitement in your stomach. It's like the world is new again. And I'd say too that you just went through a huge Neptunian process. We have the Hanged Man that is coming out reversed, which I see as being very similar to the Ace of Swords. One of my favorite things to see is the Hanged Man coming out reversed, because it shows you seeing everything with clarity, all of the fogginess, all of the stuff that you were moving through before, where things needed to be worked through, where you weren't seeing everything, where there were unknowns going on, where there was illusion, where there was deception, where there was a lack of clarity. This shows you being in a place of pure clarity and truth. And this means too that there can be some very big energetic and spiritual lessons that you have gone through that you have now accomplished. And so you can feel like, I just see like a raising in your vibration, like your awareness is very heightened, your understanding of things, like stuff is just clicking and making sense. Like there's none of that fogginess there anymore. It's just light. So that whole evolution of perspective, it's now landed where it was meant to land. It has now like concluded its evolution. So that's a really, really brilliant thing to be seeing. So whatever it was that you were just traveling through, you're at a point where it's kind of like the maze you have found your way out of it, and everything is so very clear. I'm also hearing pungent, which is an interesting word to be coming through. And maybe like in a metaphorical type of way, like energetically that could have been what was being worked with. I'm hearing looking on the bright side. I'm also seeing the Ace of Cups be there. So we have Hanged Man reversed. Oh, when we have Hanged Man reversed too, this can mean that, like, you know, in a dream, sometimes when you try to run and you're like running in place or you're like barely getting anywhere, I feel like you were going through a process like this, but when the Hanged Man goes reverse, it's like gravity comes back down and then you can like really get moving, and probably like much faster than even regular after going through that. It's like everything just goes back into how it's meant to move. So yeah, you could have felt like something was going by and it could have felt like really slow, almost like you were in some type of like time warp or like a loop or something like that, or something where things were just slowed down. But now everything is on, well, it's not like you weren't on track before, but I just feel like the pace of things is like back to normal now. And I'm seeing the Ace of Cups be there. And this is a time when you can see that too, you know, like you're not missing it. I'm seeing you be aware of this. Feels like it's coming like right in your trajectory. Ace of Cups is going to be a new chapter, connection and love. A new chapter too for you in your relationship with yourself, your understanding of things. I'm seeing if we have Neptune and we have Queen of Cups, I wonder if you were going through some type of process that could have, with Neptune there, this can be themes of martyrdom, this can be themes of self-sacrifice, themes of compassion, themes that have to do with love, with relationships, with savior, victim, with selflessness, with your spirituality, your understanding of things philosophically. Unconditional love can be part of this. What you know love to be can be part of this as well. It can be themes of self-worth as well. Stuff that has you even feeling like you're unraveling going through those processes. With Neptune, and because we have the context of Queen of Cups here, there can definitely be stuff that has to do with boundaries, where we draw the line, and the importance of equality, where there needs to be love that we give. Is it really called love if you're giving love to everything or everyone else around you, yet neglecting yourself? So themes that are connected with that, like self-sacrifice and whatnot, that can be something that you had just gone through, where this can really be a time that you've realized and had these big understandings about things, because we have Uranus here. These are these moments where we have these lightning strikes of understanding, like stuff that we didn't fully wrap our heads around before, and these things now come to light. And so I feel like this is going to be a new chapter where you're seeing things clearly, and when there can be that purity of connection there, that you just had to wrap some stuff up to get here. And you've evolved. You see your past for what it was. There's no more nostalgic distortion. It's just acceptance of reality, where you hadn't been seeing what was there all along, because you just weren't ready to yet. But now you're in this place of truth. It can be something that feels, I don't know if harsh to see is the right way to put it. I feel like there's something that may really cut deep, yet you're seeing it for what it is, and that holds a lot of value. Like there's nothing is getting in the way of you seeing the truth anymore of this situation. Okay. I will say this too, in that third week of February, for some of you, you're going to have somebody coming through and they're making an offer. I don't know what you're going to do about this, but I am seeing that happening. You're being urged to use your discernment with this and utilize your learned knowledge, hopefully the integrated experiences that you've had, what you've taken from them, and apply it to this situation here. This feels too like now that you have purified everything, like it's boiled down and you don't have anything unnecessary though, so you really have this, what's the word that I'm looking for? It's like a purified truth that you have. Like there's nothing else that's not supposed to be there. There's a word, it's not coming to me, but you guys get what I'm saying. It's like there's nothing that's not truth. It's just like that condensed form of truth. You standing there with that, you get to decide what you want to do now. And I am very much seeing like somebody coming through and wanting to connect with you, but now, given everything that you've learned and what you know now, you get to discern what you want to do about this. I feel too like this is going to allow you to connect with yourself in a way that hadn't totally been available to you before. And you can feel maybe a bit more mindful of where you're stepping now, you know, like maybe stuff that wasn't a concern before, you think about it now and you're like, that's something that I want to be aware of when I'm making choices, but before it wasn't like a pattern that I recognized or something that I thought was really relevant. Now going into things, there's a very like, there's stuff that I'm paying attention to that I consider now that I wasn't before. And this feels too like a new way of you doing things. I feel too like something that you may not have understood before, you now understand. And it's just like something that you weren't ready for yet that now I'm seeing you see very, very clearly. And this has to do, I feel like this has to do with your past, like, origin wounds that now you understand, which means that these things can fully be integrated now. So this is a very huge thing. So in that third week of February, this is one of those times where the strength that you connect with is monumental, and this can be a huge internal shift that you experience. Like, one where wounding does not determine the moves that you're making, because it's something that's been understood and integrated in a way that it hadn't been before. And I'd say that this is something deeply emotional and psychological. Okay, that's the third week. We're going to go into the fourth and final week of February. Yeah, I am seeing somebody coming through and wanting to talk to you, like wanting to connect with you. Whatever it is, I do get this sense of you seeing this situation very clearly. Okay. Let's actually switch back. Some of you, there's someone that you're going to be reconnecting with. Or there can be like someone that you're reconnecting with, or this can be people that you're reconnecting with, or it can be something that's being celebrated or somewhere where you're going. By that fourth week of February, I'm getting this feeling like so much ground has been covered. It can be one of those months that it feels like it's 3 months long by that fourth week. But you can feel like there's a lot of ground that you've covered, a lot of progress that you've made, a lot of things that have clicked into place. Just a lot of progress in general. And it can very much be helping shape what's happening next. Like, your head is in the game here. You can also feel too like your mind is your own once again, and that you're also very much in touch with how you're feeling, with what you're feeling, and I'm seeing you ready to get something moving, and with a sense of excitement and a decent pace as well. This does look like it's connected with a new chapter that you're starting. Bringing it all together. Okay. So, I'm seeing something that you have going on. Actually, let me clarify this first. There's something that's connected with an investment. This can be a future investment. This can be an investment that's in its final stages or about to go into its final stages. I'm seeing there also be waiting for the next chapter that's going to start too. So this can be an investment that's going to be beginning the final stages, and it also feels like additionally there's another chapter that's going to be opening, but I'm seeing it For some of you, it's not time for this to be happening yet, but you can know that eventually this is most likely where things are going to go. I feel too like you can be making plans to maybe meet up with somebody in the future, or there can be this idea that something is going to be coming together, not now, but a little bit later down the line. And for some of you, this feels like a relationship, a connection of some sort. It seems like you get the choice between choosing something old that you've already had a part in or choosing something new. And for some of you, I get the sense that this can be a connection that this is talking about. It can say like you can continue to invest in a connection of sorts, even though with the Five of Pentacles, I'd say that it may be something that doesn't actually provide what you need, you know, like it may lack the substance necessary. It may be something that leaves you in an imbalance, and you get to choose whether you continue to entertain this or not, continue to entertain it or not, continue to put your energy into it or not. Otherwise, it feels like you can choose to have a new chapter, choose that instead, and it can be something that you feel has more potential and maybe more in alignment. In a way, it's weird. Like what I'm seeing almost reminds me kind of a little bit of similarly to what was happening in the first week, but I'm seeing some different elements. And I get the sense too that even though there can be something that's there, it may not be what you need. It may not be what resonates with you. So even though there can be something that's available, or even like something that you recognize, at the same time you can feel like you want to be fully on board with something that feels new and that feels like it has more possibilities, rather than leaning into something that is not going to meet the mark for you. But there can also be a part of you that maybe feels lonely. And so I'm wondering too if there would be, it feels like the difference, let's say, for example, because it may not be exactly this for each of you, but just to give an example, it can be like picking a relationship that you don't feel satisfied within, or that you don't feel is like totally compatible with where you are, or you don't feel like particularly fulfilled there. You can choose that. But it feels like it would potentially be choosing it from a place of being like, well, I don't want to be lonely, which like there's nothing wrong with that, you know, like you get to do what you want to do here. There's no judgment from me. You can choose that, like it feels like solely because like you may not want to be alone, versus saying like I can have something that's in more resonance, but I'm gonna have to make the transition then and open myself up to a new chapter. So even though in the beginning of the Ace of Cups it can feel a little bit like there's not something fully there to connect with yet, you can build a connection with that Ace of Cups, and so that can be something that you choose. So it feels like you can have like a new chapter that may be like really new and not really attached to previous relationships, or you can have a chapter where you may go into a relationship again. However, it can be something that it feels like there's a disparity of some sort if you were to do that. But maybe there's a part of you that's like, I don't know if I can go out and get what I want otherwise, so maybe I want to play it safe. But your playing it safe may actually be something that, coming back to the slushie that's run out of juice, it can kind of be like one of those. So like, are you really going to gain something from that? Like, The slushie will be in your hand, but if it doesn't have something something that's nourishing you, what's that mean to you anyway? Is that something you want to spend your time doing? Some of you, you're going to get a phone call too. I'm seeing that. I'd say like that fourth week, mid fourth week. Some of you may get a phone call, but you can decide that it's not the way that you want to go. Seems too like a lot of this is about your empowerment, compatibility, and what vibes with you versus what you made. You have the opportunity to choose things that aren't totally in resonance versus maybe taking a risk to connect with the stuff that's more in resonance with you. To be honest about the way that you feel. To be transparent, especially with yourself. Okay, in that fourth week, you can start feeling concerned about the future in a way where you're like, am I going to be like lonely forever? Or am I going to be feeling like this forever? Or like, I'm concerned, like, what if I don't make ends meet? Or like, what if this stuff, it just feels like, what if I don't have what I need? And whether that be like physically or with your money or with your relationships or with love or, you know, like whatever it is, it feels like there's going to be something where you're like, okay, I'm thinking about the future now, and there's this part of me that's like, what if things aren't good? Or like, what if I don't enjoy it? Or what if it just, like, things just fall apart, you know, and it's not going to be fun? I feel like this type of thing starts hitting you in that fourth week, but I also get the sense of this being kind of transient. It feels like you have to pick the path that you feel is right for you and stay true to yourself, even though there can be some fears that come up. Connected with like a poverty mindset, we can say there can be those types of fears that come up where you can really question if you're going to be able to secure what it is that you want to secure. But I'm not seeing this be a fact. I'm seeing this be more so you're working with those parts of yourself that can have difficulty when you're transitioning, when things are changing. And this can also be needing to lean into your faith and discovery of working with the universe and working with trust that things really will fall into place. That stuff is going to be okay. And if you make choices that are true to you, where you're living within your authenticity, that you really will see things come together for you. Okay? Some of you too may have already made the decision to separate from something, to walk away, to continue your journey elsewhere. Some of you during that fourth month of February, you may be announcing that maybe you may be having a conversation about it. It may be something that's more publicly known at that point. Or when I say publicly, I mean like maybe this can be something that you've been processing that you haven't told like too many people about, that then is going to be more like public knowledge within your community. Community meaning like, you know, wherever it is that you are connected with, especially. Okay. All right, my friends, we are going to leave the reading here. I would like to thank everyone for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I'm sending everybody love, and I hope to catch you guys next time.